Welcome back to the It's Bigger Than Me podcast. I'm your host, Molly Gomez. I'm so excited for you guys to meet a long friend of mine, longtime friend. We have known each other, gosh, Tyler, for like over a decade, I think, at this
Oh yeah.
point. And so it's so fun when you have friends like that, especially when you get to bring them on the podcast. It's like it's been a number of years. And there are so many reasons why I wanted Tyler to come on. From an incredible leader, speaker, author, podcast host, over 2 decades. I'm reading my notes here to make sure I don't miss anything. 2 decades, $500 million in sales with the things that he does, being the number 5 income earner in Isogenics with a team of over 200,000 people. And this gentleman is on the John Maxwell Advisory Council. So talk about just doing all the things, but of integrity with great leadership.
Mm.
And even with the things that he's doing, he's having a bit of a, shift and like rebrand to really get deeper, which Tyler, you and I, every time we come on a call or even before this, we end up talking for like 15, 20 plus minutes about all the things. And just we go there, we're like, let's just hit record and get started. But I'm so excited to have you on the show today. Please share a little bit more about yourself so the folks at home can know a little bit more about who's Tyler.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and your audience. Like you mentioned, our history goes way back. You even, my brother subletted your apartment. That's the dynamic of our relationship when
Yes.
he moved here and you left. But man, I'm glad to be here to just pour into you and your audience. And part of you mentioned the accolades, and the reality is that doesn't really truly kind of give a picture of who and what that I had to work through to either accomplish these things, or more importantly, understanding what it took to help others in that process of accomplishing those things. And so I'm excited to kind of dive into that, but as well kind of explore my background from coming from agriculture into network marketing, now into leadership coaching. And the reality is that all came full circle because it really was finding who the true me was.
And where would you say you found that officially?
Through hardship. And it really is that. It's we all go through things, but it was more in the time and place where leading a team, leading an organization, like you meant, having a gym, having a young family, and trying to do things and realizing what I was doing wasn't working. And it was in that moment where God kind of really spoke to me and said, "Hey, this is how you handle things." And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work. I'm finding out. And it really, what from that point took me back to a moment in my childhood where I learned how to put my head down and push. And see, that's what was going on professionally, is I would just put my head down and push. Whatever needed to be accomplished, I would do that. And when God kind of exposed me when that came about as a pattern was the moments after my younger brother died in a farming accident. I was 14, he was 3, and I'd driven over him. And when I was being questioned by the sheriff about what happened in this situation and just the ongoing question and question and question, I finally got fed up and said, I'm done. It was an accident. I'm done. And I pointed to the barn where our cows were. I said, I'm going to go in there and milk those cows. If you want to come with me, great. If not, I'm leaving. And when God took me to that moment, it was exposing to me that my intensity, which became a virtue that I relied on to accomplish, was actually the barrier in my ability to connect, to lead, and to serve others.
Hmm.
Because it kept me from them. It always caused a rub. And I felt that in relationships, like there's just always something. And see, the reality was it wasn't that moment with my brother. It was years before of feeling unworthy. Do I have value? Those fears and insecurities that I had, and intensity just became the wall that I would put up whenever those were challenged. And so, as the position of leading people and trying to build relationships, that intensity would come about, and there's the barrier. Now, I discovered others through the years, others that I'd used and others that I describe when I'm coaching, leading, and now my new book that's out, it's available, The Things We Hide, is really understanding those walls are in all of us. And I used to think you could take them down and get over them. Like, nope, they'll always be there. You just, from season to season, from challenge to new thing, those walls will pop up. And it's our opportunity to recognize them and say, yep, they're there. That's my fears and insecurities. That's how I show up, and be vulnerably authentic and own it. And when you do so, everyone around you is like, oh my goodness, now this is so much easier. Instead of that barrier, now we're in this together. That's what I had to learn and go through. And that's what makes it exciting, being able to help others go through that as well.
Wow, that is powerful. I mean, the whole thing, I love how we just went deep so quickly. So quickly. I mean, it was just like, boom, here we are. We just went deep. And I would love to touch on the walls because so many
Yeah.
people probably have that misconception of like, okay, let's obliterate these walls. Let's understand they're there. They're gone. Move on. Like you said, they are never truly gone. You get the choice when they pop up. What do we do from here? What, like, let's speak to the leader that's listening to this that maybe hasn't experienced that yet or hasn't even put
Yeah.
language like this to
Yeah.
that yet, because
Yeah.
that is huge.
Well, and I think at first in my development, it's like, oh, I can tear down this wall. And then as I learned to go through, it's like, no, the next challenge, the next relationship issue, your natural inclination will be that wall because it worked at some point in your life. But what we can do is we can put windows in that wall. And we can sit behind that wall, and instead of looking in the mirror and thinking, I was right, my intentions are right, it's their problem. It's like, nope, my intentions are simply what I believe is the right thing. My actions are what other people experience. So in this, kind of analogy, this simile, this metaphor, our intentions are a mirror. We look in the mirror, everything looks good. When you got up this morning, you did your hair, look in the mirror, it's like, that's good. Now it takes someone else to tell you, is it really actually good? And I came on and said, yeah, your hair is good. It looks great. And so, but that's the intention. The only way it was realized is when someone else looked through the window and said, that's what I see. Now, for
Mm,
you, hair, it was great. It was a smile. It was a fun laughter moment. But yet, that's what happens. And it's our choice to put those windows and say, hey, what do you see through the window? I call it window cleaning. It's window cleaning
mm,
moments because the opposite is window shattering moments. When you can't figure out why it's such a problem and your window gets shattered, and then you start questioning a whole lot of things. But if you take the time to say, hey, Molly, what's it like to sit on the other side of me? Like, give me your take, your feelings. How does it feel like to work with me? And then sit and authentically just listen. Be curious. Now, not everyone's opinion, their viewpoint is going to be perfect. Sometimes the light shining through and just blinding their eyes and it hurts. Other times they're like, hey, dude, you got some spots there that you can't see. It's like, oh, okay, I need to clean those. And that's how the relationships around us work. I call it the circle of ownership.
mm.
You have to own whatever someone else's perception is. Now, you don't have to agree with it, but you have to own it. If someone has a bad interaction with you, that's a reality. Now, it may have to do with them, but that's what happened in the moment. And you have the power to address that instead of blowing them off and saying that's their problem. No, no, no. It's both of you. And
Right.
that's the ability we have instead of being callous and allowing to hide and allow those walls to determine our relationships.
It's you have to be open to somebody giving real feedback and not take it as criticism, but feedback, right? And there's a
Yeah.
huge difference. And it's our internal dialogue with ourselves of how are we receiving this? But you painted a really powerful picture. It's either window cleaning or window shattering. And I can
Mhm.
tell you, I have shattered many windows that I have put up because I would just want to blow it out of like, I don't want to hear what you have to say. I don't want to go there. I basically was saying, I'm going to risk this relationship and your comfortability for my own because these walls are that important to me
Yep.
until there were certain shattering moments where, wow, I didn't want to do that. This is what it's costing. The cost is too great, too high. Let's talk about that. Like from the person
Yeah.
who's going from the shattering to the cleaning, obviously there's humility. There's a lot that goes into being able to receive, but how worth it is it? I would love to hear from you.
Well, the step before that is realizing why you have that response. See, it's window shattering moments that lead you often to the place of like, okay, well, this has happened too many times.
Right.
It's a me problem, right?
Yes.
And that centers into our fears and insecurities. And one of the things that I've gone through and I've realized in working with so many people, I just had an event last week and I asked people, what are they hiding from? And over half of the people in the room, and I've seen this, in that instance, but I've seen this pretty much in everyone that I've coached and worked with. when I ask, what's your biggest insecurity? And the response comes back, am I enough?
Mm.
Am I worthy? Do I have value? Those are of the same. And so when that window shattering moment's occurring, that relationship, we're challenged against, they think I'm not worthy. I'm not valued. I'm going to hold on because I'm going to protect myself. That's why the walls pop up. And so if we can understand, hey, excuse me, my insecurity showing, I'm trying to prove myself. I'm trying to justify my value. If we can go there and go first, and really window cleaning starts by going first.
Mm.
It's being that authentically vulnerable and saying, hey, yeah, this is how I deal with things. I'm sorry I'm intense. Let's work there. It's like, yeah, your intensity, it's hard. Okay. I got to own that. That's on me. But it's also in this process understanding the other person has walls too. And give them grace. And one practice that I've learned, and the problem I help people solve is their insecurity. Now, the solution is being authentically vulnerable. It's like, this is who I am. It's not, this is who I am. You have to take it and deal with it. It's like, no, no, no. This is who I am. This is who God made me to be. I've grown to accept and love that. Do I have fears and insecurities? Absolutely. We all do. I just heard a story about Moses, and when he was called with the burning bush to do it, like his fears and insecurities were like, I can't do this. Paul writes about his thorn in his flesh. It was his insecurities, my belief, right? So it's not a new phenomenon. And yet, if we don't take the moment to go first to recognize how our fears and insecurities are showing up, that moment of window cleaning ends up becoming justification.
Mm.
And usually what it is then we're looking in the mirror and we're saying, hey, I'm right, they're wrong.
Right.
And one thing that I've learned recently is, kind of the description of the four walls. It's intensity, insensitivity, inactivity, and isolation. Just happen to be four eyes. Find God. That's what God gave me one day. And what happens if we are standing inside that house and we're looking, it's other people, not me. We're looking in the mirror. And all of a sudden our walls are lined with mirrors. It's them, not me. But that's not true. And the practice is to put windows in those walls and say, all right, what do other people see, right? Have that relationship, that interaction, ask for that conversation.
Mm.
To be curious enough to say, hey, what's it like? But again, coming back to the window shattering and the window cleaning, that means you have to go first and say, yeah, I have fears and insecurities. Own how they show up. Then you can go through the process again through that window cleaning to change your mindsets and beliefs of whatever and wherever that insecurity came from. Through doing this work and talking to so many people and other authors, one thing that I've personally discovered and hear so much from others is a lot of our fears and insecurities are seated in an age around 10 to 14. The moment with my brother at 14 didn't, cap my insecurities. They happened far before it, but how I responded
Mm.
was in that moment. And so often I hear from people when they're in fourth grade and their teacher told them they would never be good enough. They have a coach that said they're not good enough. The peers were saying they're not good enough. So forever our parent. And so forever they question, am I good enough? And trying to prove it. And the reality is God did make us. Now, we get to sand the walls. We get to make him a little smoother. Like, this doesn't make it easier to be around. But yet it's us finding it and saying, okay, how can I be the best me to bring out the best in others? I can't do that with dirty windows. I can't do
Mm.
that with frustrations with other people. I have to own it. And I have to be vulnerable to say, okay, I don't have to agree. But I have to give you the place. I have to be empathetic to you to be able to have that conversation.
Mm. That's powerful. That's so powerful. And I can think of a couple just from that. It's so true. The 10 to 14, that range of what people are speaking into you. And it even takes me back. Like when you set the stage, took me back to people telling me I'm too much, I'm too loud, I'm too this and that. And then I became somebody who gets paid to speak for a living and help others do the same. I broke through that, but that the played in my head so many times. And the people I serve, that's what they think about. Who cares? Why me? Why should I be talking? Because the voices that basically said, sit down, be quiet, just do what you're told, instead of press into like, who are you really? Even
Yeah.
when it took me even back to, I always was the taller person when I was younger. So
Lucky.
boys would never like me because I was always way taller than them. And then I grew up with brothers, so I was a little bit more masculine. And that actually translated into me finding love in all the wrong places. multiple
Mm,
times after the
hmm.
next. And how I
Uh-huh.
healed from that in my marriage was very challenging. And so it was
Yeah.
so like you're bringing me back to these places where I just open, be vulnerable, be open, be sharing,
Yeah.
allow those things to come up to either be like, for me, I'm just like, wow, look how far we've come. But those used to be super sharp, like prickly pain
Yeah.
points of,
Yeah.
ooh, I don't want to go there because
Yeah.
that hurts still. But when
Yep.
you can actually face it head on of, okay, this used to be a little prick and now it's like we are pushing through, it makes the biggest difference, but it doesn't mean the road is going to be easy. So I
Yeah.
love the pictures that you're painting, the vulnerability, even what you're sharing from the story with your brother. I mean, that obviously from the way you speak about it now, clearly you've done a lot of work, a lot of healing. And I'm sure there's still points where I'm like, of course you miss them and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. But thank you for going first because
Yeah.
everyone's waiting for somebody else to go first. And not even 5 minutes into this podcast, you just right there in the deep end, which is what you do. But
Yeah.
you do it to show people I'm not afraid of doing it. And there's possibility here. So while people are sitting with their limitation of I can't go there, Tyler's over here being like, look at the possibility if you have eyes to see and ears to hear.
Yeah.
If you actually are open to where this could take you and not be so fearful of, oh my gosh, what will come up. I look at it as, ooh, if something that I don't like is coming up, I'm like, great, here comes the healing. Like, I'm not happy about it in the beginning, but on the end, I'm like, praise God. Like, I'm glad that this
Yeah.
is done
Yeah.
and over with, and we can move on to whatever's coming next.
I think there's such a practice in it. Meaning, if we're having this conversation, like I said, we've known each other for years, and most likely, unless you heard me talk about it most recently, you didn't know, had
Mm-hmm.
no idea. And for years, I hid it because I didn't think it was mattered.
Wow.
And not like that moment. And we all have moments. Don't get that wrong. We all have moments. But how I responded in that moment dictated every relationship issue.
Wow.
And I think that's where the opportunity of growth and learning is how do we respond when we're pressured, when those fears and insecurities come about, when those difficult moments come about, because they will happen in our life, right? And that's what determines our level of ability to influence others. And the connectedness is really the facet. You mentioned, and I've learned, I tell my story because it gives my brother's life purpose. Because
Mm,
I had to learn and grow through and recognize those things, and that's the
yes.
place where I'm at today in realizing that's why God gave me this instance to share with others, and yet to be able to go first and say it's okay to be authentically vulnerable. And this is who I am. I wear black. I don't know if you wear black because of this, Molly, but I do because I get sweaty pits and I don't have to worry about it.
Honestly,
It's
less
hidden.
decision fatigue. You wear it, pick it out of the closet, you're good
Oh,
to go.
that's 100% of it. I mean, that's the other factor. The practical is that I don't have to worry about 100%. I don't have to worry about the background like yourself. Do I wear something that clash being on camera quite often? And see, that simple action, though, to be able to go first and to accept it opens up people to do the same. I
Mm,
had someone ask me the other day, said, why do you choose to be vulnerable like that? I'm like, well, one, I choose to enhance relationships through it. See, one thing that I've realized is when people just will dump on you, oh, woe is me. You go to a group and all of a sudden everyone just dumps about what's going on in their life. They're
right.
not hiding anything, right? They'll put it all out there. It ends up being a little toxic. It's not something that is adding value to the room. Yes, it's helping, it's a process. But what I realize is being authentically vulnerable is choosing vulnerability that enhances a relationship. If I can deepen a connection saying, yeah, I have to go first. I've hid these things too. I've dealt with these things. When you think about it in a leadership capacity, the leader that says, I have it all figured out, no one wants to follow. The leader's
Right.
like, man, I've never been through this before, but we'll figure it out because I trust the people around me. Everyone's all in and say, let's go.
Yes.
And the lesson there is often in so many corporate spaces, especially, but that spills over to entrepreneurial spaces because we see it and watch it, is I have to be infallible so people trust me.
Mm,
The reality is in this world, when you present yourself that way, no one trusts you.
that's right. What do you
We
have to
joke
hide?
yeah, we joked and laughed about it, as far as shooting a podcast and, going almost a little bit less produced. I'm not telling you not to have lights and makeup and all those things. It's not that. But it's just understanding we question so much when it looks too perfect.
That's right.
And the reality is we do that in our relationships too. And all of a sudden, if you can say, yeah. I'm dealing with stuff, not to overwhelm others, but to understand, hey, we're all in this together. Then all of a sudden, the stuff that we're carrying doesn't seem such a much of a burden
That's
because we're
right.
no longer carrying it alone. And the facet where that ties into the ability to really serve and lead people makes it feel like they're worthy.
Mm, that's so
Remember when
powerful.
I said earlier, the greatest insecurity that I've seen, my biggest insecurity is, do I have value? Well, the amazing thing is, Molly, I know you have fears and insecurities. I know each listener that is listening to this right now has fears and insecurities. We're all in it together. And so all of a sudden, when someone admits, it's like, oh, I'm not alone. And that is powerful when it comes to, again, creating something, to getting work done, to serving people, to accomplishing whatever we thought wasn't possible. But it takes someone willing to go first.
Yes. Oof, that's so powerful. I love this. There's so many takeaways that people could just sit in with of like, wow, am I what side of the camp am I on? Am I trying to just hide behind my walls or here
Mhm.
I am? And that's something I have definitely worked through big time, especially with my husband going into the military now and being in there. I just said, "Okay, world, I'm going to be honest with you and I'm just going to let it flow." And it has built so much more depth rather than, hey, look at this, like perfect little picture. Not that I'm perfect, but like try to keep it together.
Yeah.
It's nope, there are cracks and it is hard, but we push through. So there's so much meat in here, Tyler. And as we have just a few minutes before we have to wrap up today, you have an incredible book that just came out. Any final words? Everything will be in the show notes below for people, but let
Yeah.
people know how they can get more of Tyler and get into your
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the book. Thank you. The Things We Hide, it's available wherever you buy books. The foreword by John Maxwell, which I was so privileged to have him write that.
Amazing.
And I really unpack what I've shared today. It's recognizing our fears and insecurities, owning how they show up, and then reframe our mindsets and beliefs. That's a great place to start. Of course, have a podcast, the Tyler Dickerhoof Show, where I go into it. But then as well, I have a private community where I work with people, the Things We Hide Roundtable, where we actually do this in practice. And as I learned with my 10-year-old son now, years ago, he's 16 now, but when he was 10, is doesn't like to shower, right? And that's a lot of young boys. And one of the things that I realized is mindset, the practice of working through those things. You got to do it every day, because if not, you start to stink. And you can do it for 4, 5, 6 days in a row, and then you take a week off and you start to stink. So it has to become something of your daily practice, that mindset refresh that actually helps you grow and transform. Like I learned from a friend this morning, transformation doesn't happen overnight. If you learn to ride a bike, it takes practice and it takes working through it, and transformation takes time. That's the case for me. And I am so blessed to be able to walk with people and do that with them as well.
Transformation takes time. That is a takeaway. Sit with that. Like, sit in that, because if we're expecting this to happen overnight because we're looking at somebody's highlight reel on Instagram, like fake news, like you got to dig in, ask deeper questions. And there's so much that they could go back and re-listen to this even. And okay, I listened to it one time. What
Yeah.
do I need to pick up on? Like, this is one people can listen to over and over and over again and grab something new, because you gave so much example. You gave so much where, okay, let's do a self audit here of where we're really at.
Yeah.
Because if we truly are after transformation and a better life and really to be free at the end of the day, our insecurities, as you mentioned, those are something that they don't ever fully go away. It's
Nope.
something that we deal with. We need to be open, honest, have feedback that's coming in so you can actually see, how am I showing up? And then work from there, and coming from
Yeah.
a place that this will make everyone better and your life so much more fulfilled. And again, thank you for going first and sharing your
Yeah.
experience on how that has literally transpired for you.
I appreciate that. I just have a question. Did I get the bingo? Did I?
Did you get the bingo? You nailed the bingo. If only you guys knew what the bingo was. It was a hair thing that he slipped in there. Hilarious. If only you were there for the inside joke. But
Yeah,
Tyler,
it's good. It's
you
good.
you got it. It's one of those, like, when you speak a long time, if you could just throw something in there that's a little bit different, it's fun because it just adds dynamic.
Yeah. 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 I love it.
But thank you again, Tyler. This has been absolutely incredible. I'm honored by your wisdom. Congratulations on your book. The things we hide, and just thank you for pulling that out of
Yep.
people, the ones that are ready, willing. And if you are ready and willing, Tyler is definitely somebody to connect with. So again, thank you for coming on the show today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Before you go, Remember that your story is so much bigger than you. If this episode encouraged you, maybe challenged you, or even had you feeling that you're not alone in this process that we call life, share this with a friend who needs to hear this message today. You can go ahead and connect with the guest that we had on today's show, or even myself. You'll find all those links to connect in the show notes below. And just know God is using even your voice to be mentorship to somebody else. Stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you next time.